Hello, welcome back. Let's continue on with Book 1, Chapter 61, Bryce. I said hi to Duncan and Skeeter before I got ready for the first CAT. It killed me not to tell them what had happened. It was like winning $1 million on a TV show and not being able to tell anyone. Ashley came in looking like someone had punched her in the stomach. I wanted to ask what was wrong, but the teacher came in and turned on the television. The test was coordinated with every other class in the state. A picture of a big white cat came on the screen, and somebody groaned. We were sick of cats. Even people who like cats were sick of cats. I thought I was getting a hairball. We just wanted the test oval. I found only one short pencil with the lead worn to a nub. I glanced at Ashley, pointed to my pencil, and she went through her backpack and pulled out a new one for me. The teacher glared at us like we had defiled the sacred cat process. Every teacher made a big deal about us having 2 sharpened pencils, and I felt like a cat traitor. At exactly 1 minute after the owl, the color bars on the screen went black and a nicely dressed woman appeared, sitting on the front of her desk, a real cat on her lap. Welcome to this year's most exciting educational event in the state of Colorado, she purred, flashing pearly white teeth. Did she have cat whiskers painted on her face? Over the next 5 days, we are going to probe your minds and find out if we're really doing our jobs as educators. So, in a sense, this test is not about you, it's about your teachers. Please sit back, relax, and enjoy these next 5 days. In the middle of her talk about the test, which included a long section about not cheating, the cat walked behind her and started pawing at an apple. It knocked the apple to the floor, then jumped down after it. The whole class roared. Our teacher touched a finger to his lips, but I imagined every 7th grade class in the state laughing. The first part of the test was reading comprehension. We had to pick out the main point of the story, retell the story, and write an essay about the main character to show we could actually read and understand the words. I understood most of it, but some I had to read over 2 or 3 times. I looked forward to the math section. I felt more comfortable with numbers than stories. Once I looked out the window at a pond in a pasture and thought of being underwater. I couldn't believe I was sitting at my desk taking a test when they could have been planning my funeral. And I couldn't tell anybody. Chapter 62, Ashley. Twice a week Mom lets us buy our lunch, and that day I grabbed some pizza and found a seat in the back. I asked God to help me say the right things to Haley. When I looked up, she was coming toward me. After we talked about the test, I pushed my plate away and leaned toward her. Listen, I need to talk to you about the other night. I shouldn't have asked you to tell my mom it was your idea, she said. The thing is, I'm a Christian, and I should have said something about the movie and not watched it. Haley took her sandwich apart, then put it back together. I know you're a Christian. What's that got to do with anything? I should have said something, but I was scared you'd think I was a goody-goody. I've felt bad about the whole thing for days. The truth is, if I've said something, you might not be in trouble. She looked at me with a glint in her eyes. Yeah, it was your fault, she smiled. You know I'm a Christian, too. Really? Yeah, we go to church and stuff. Not very often, but I believe in Jesus and all that. I've heard this kind of thing before, and every time it reminds me of myself. I once thought I was a Christian because I went to church at Christmas and Easter and believed Jesus was a real person. But it didn't actually change anything until I understood what the Bible really taught, and I saw how much God loved me. Maybe we should get together and do a Bible study or something, I said. Would your mom allow that? I don't know. It's worth a try, don't you think? I was dying to tell Haley what had happened to us over the weekend. The way Mom and Sam were treating this seemed strange, but then nobody had ever tried to kill us before either. Chapter 63. Bryce. I ate lunch in a corner of the hallway where I thought nobody would see me. Skeeter, who had always had a thing for Ashley, finally came up and asked why I was hiding. I shrugged. He rolled his eyes. I get it. Boo's still after you. Keep it down, I said, glancing down the hall. There's no hiding, Skeeter said. He's going to get you one way or another, and if he wants those four-wheelers of yours, he'll get them. No way, I said. If you don't stand up to somebody like Boo, he'll walk all over you your whole life. I'd rather be walked over than dead. He leaned forward. Plus, I'm scared that you and Ashley are going to get hurt. I wanted to tell Skeeter about the reservoir. I heard people talk about the stolen gold and could hardly hold my tongue. When the tests were over for the day, I went to gym class and changed in the locker room. The gym teacher, Mr. Baldwin, had set up an obstacle course, and we spent the period clocking our best speeds around hurdles, rings, and obstructions. We had to crawl through one enclosed area, run down the balance beam, which nobody could do push-ups and chin-ups, make a layup, jump the pommel horse, and run a lap around the gym. In every class I've been in, there's always one kid who is the biggest and clumsiest. At Red Rock Middle School, that guy is Chuck Barley. He's the funniest kid in school, but he's also the fattest. His face is always puffy and red, and he kind of hobbles when he walks, like he's carrying a piano. I was cheering for him as he ran through the gym when I saw two people sneak into the boys' locker room. From the back, it looked like Boo, who usually wore a jean jacket, but I wasn't sure. Chuck couldn't clear the hurdles, so he just jumped high enough to knock them over and kept going. He stepped on the balance beam, and I held my breath. Usually people fall right off, but Chuck scooted sideways, and when he hit the floor with a boom at the end of the beam, everybody gave it up, clapping for him. He got stuck in the crawling thing, so Mr. Baldwin stopped the timer and moved it wider. In the end, Chuck had the slowest time of the whole class, but he was the only one who got all the way across the beam without falling. The bell rang, and I slapped his sweaty back. Sure looked good out there today. Chuck smiled. Slow but sure. Give all the credit to my new eating plan. It's called the seafood diet. The seafood diet? Whatever food I see, I eat. I had a feeling he told those kinds of jokes on himself so no one else would. Chuck stopped laughing as we entered the locker room. My backpack lay in the middle of the floor, my books strewed all over the place. One sock hung from a fluorescent light and another floated in the toilet. My pants were tied in several knots. Tight. Boo couldn't have done this without help. Coach Baldwin came in and looked the place over. Timberline? In my office. Now. Chapter 64. Ashley. I was heading to my next to last class, wondering what Mom would say about my talk with Haley, when someone blocked my path. Somebody big. At first I thought it was a teacher, but when I saw the dirty jean jacket, I knew. Hey, Timber Girl, Boo said with a sneer. Tell your brother I'll be waiting for him outside after school. I saw you drove your precious little four-wheelers today, right? I figured it was none of his business, so I said nothing. I didn't even nod. I don't like anyone making fun of my last name. Certainly not Boo. Left him a little reminder in the gym, but don't forget to tell him. Boo leaned down and I could smell a cheeseburger on his breath. Or I'll knock all that metal on your teeth down your throat. I let Boo pass. I'll learn that ignoring a bully was one of the best ways not to let him or her get to you. But this was a little hard to ignore, especially the part about knocking the metal down my throat. Chapter 65, Bryce. Who did it? Coach Baldwin said. Baldwin was a good name for him because his head looked like a light bulb with hair on his side. He was thin, stood about 6 feet tall, and had chest and abdominal muscles that reminded people of professional wrestlers. Did what, sir? I said. He cocked his head. You threw your own socks in the toilet and tied your pants in knots? I shook my head. Who did it? I told him who I thought might have. Coach shook his head. Need some help with Heckle? I think I have it under control, I said. Coach smiled. At least let me help you untie your pants. I was late to my last class, but Coach Baldwin wrote me a note. While Mrs. Ferguson went to the office and left us working on an essay, Ashley told me what Boo had said to her in the hall. That made me mad. Until now, he hadn't said much to her, but this changed things. Why don't we tell the principal or Coach Baldwin about Boo's email? Ashley said. Boo will just get us some other way, I said. We need to handle this ourselves. Bryce, that's crazy. The guy is twice as big as you. He makes the Hulk look like a weenie. Ash, I have to stand up to him. Your pride's going to get us killed. If I knew karate or had pepper spray or a stun gun, it would be different. My cell phone vibrated. I had a new text message. Bryce, you have what it takes. If you can escape those guys in Goldtown, you can show this Boo character what you're made of. Sam. And that ends this section. Tune in for the last part of the book. Find out what happens.